Welcome back to the channel. This is your horoscope for the week of 1st to the 7th of December 2025. And it's a big one. We've got a full moon in Gemini at 13 degrees. Mercury is finally direct after a pretty intense retrograde. And we're closing a long emotional chapter with the final grandwatertrine between Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn. This is a week of truth, revelations, emotional integration, and karmic conversations. First, I'll walk you through the day by day collective energy, what's happening in the world, and the mood of the week, and then we'll look at what this means personally for each rising sign, sun, and moon using whole sign houses. Before starting, I would like to invite you to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. It helps this channel grow, and these informations could help you or people in your life or other people. Now, let's get into it. On Monday, December the 1st, we start the week with the moon in Aries, making a trine to Mars in Sagittarius and later a square to Jupiter in Cancer. Collectively, this is a day of quick reactions and bold moves. People want to act, not overthink. You might see more impulsive decisions, strong opinions, protests, or assertive political and military gestures. The trine to Mars gives us courage and drive, but the later square to Jupiter can bring exaggeration and emotional overreaction. So we start the week with the feeling I have to do something and I have to do it now, even if not everything is fully thought through. On Tuesday, December 2nd, the moon moves into Taurus and forms a square to Pluto while Venus makes a sextile to Pluto. The moon in Taurus highlights money, resources, land, food, markets, everything that gives us stability. The square to Pluto shows power struggles around these topics: who owns what, who controls what, who has access. At the same time, Venus, in a sextile to Pluto, shows that behind the scenes deals and alliances are being made. This can be a day when financial deals, diplomatic negotiations, or relationships dynamics get deeper and more strategic. Collectively, this energy is for restructuring finances, renegotiating agreements, or redefining value. On the surface, you might see tension. Underneath, there is an opportunity for more honest and powerful connections. On Wednesday, December 3rd, the moon continues in Taurus and opposes Mercury in Scorpio. Then it makes a sextile to Jupiter and Saturn. The opposition to Mercury shows a clash between comfort and truth. On one side, we want stability and peace. On the other, information, investigations, or uncomfortable conversations are pushing to the surface. But then the moon sextiles both Jupiter and Saturn, which is a very constructive problem solving energy. After the emotional or financial tension, we move into okay, what can we actually do about this? Collectively, this is a good day for practical decisions, budget adjustments, and realistic agreements that still have a hopeful tone. On Thursday, December 4th, the moon conjuncts Uranus in Taurus and sextiles Neptune, then later enters Gemini, where it trines Pluto and then opposes Venus and the Sun, building up the full moon energy in some parts of the world. The moon with Uranus can bring sudden changes in markets, technology, climate, or earth-related issues. There is a restless, innovative, slightly unstable feeling in the air. The sextile to Neptune adds compassion and idealism. We might see emotional or spiritual responses to crisis or inspired imaginative ideas. Once the moon moves into Gemini and starts aspecting Pluto, Venus, and the Sun, we feel the full moon story building, news breaking, conversations intensifying, relationship and value questions heating up. This is a very mentally active day. Lots of information, announcements, debates, and a feeling that something important is about to peak. On Friday, December the 5th, we have the full moon in Gemini at 13 degrees. The moon opposes the sun in Sagittarius, but also opposes Mars and squares Saturn. So this full moon is not soft, it's sharp, pressured, and serious. Collectively, this full moon can bring important news, disclosures or decisions, heated debates and arguments, tension around transport, communication, media, laws, education, or ideology. The opposition to Mars can manifest as verbal conflict, critical words, aggressive speech, or sharp debates. The square to Saturn adds a feeling of restriction, responsibility, or consequences. There can be delays, criticism, or a sense of having to face reality. At the same time, the ruler of the full moon, Mercury, is in Scorpio and starts a trine to Jupiter in Cancer this day. So even though the full moon feels intense and may be harsh, there is also a channel for emotional truth and healing opening up. Deep, honest conversations, decisions that protect families, people, and the vulnerable, solutions that come from compassion and emotional intelligence. This is very much a truth bomb full moon. Things come out, tensions peak, but it pushes us toward more honest, caring choices. On Saturday, December the 6th, the full moon energy starts to disseminate as the moon continues in Gemini and squares Neptune, then moves into Cancer while the Mercury Jupiter trine grows stronger. The square to Neptune can bring confusion, rumors, misinformation, and idealism. It's great for creativity, storytelling, and imagination, but not the best to sign something if you're unsure of the details. We might see fake news, manipulated narratives, or simply people projecting their fantasies onto facts that were revealed at the full moon. When the moon enters Cancer, the mood shifts from mental overload to emotional focus, caring, protecting, staying with our people, looking after home and homeland. The Mercury Jupiter trine becoming stronger suggests that behind the confusion there is a growing wisdom and emotional clarity. We slowly start to understand why things unfolded the way they did. On Sunday, December the 7th, the moon in Cancer conjuncts Jupiter, then trines Saturn and Mercury. This is also the moment when we have the final grandwatertrine between Jupiter in Cancer, Mercury in Scorpio, and Saturn in Pisces. Mercury has already made this trine twice during its retrograde motion, so this is the third and final pass, a kind of emotional and karmic conclusion. Collectively, this day supports emotional closure and forgiveness, meaningful conversation that tie loose ends, finalizing agreements or decisions that have been pending, taking mature responsibility for our feelings and choices. Events and stories connected to this full moon and to the Mercury retrograde start to resolve. We move from confusion and tension into okay, I get it now. This is what I need to accept, and this is how I move forward. Now, let's look at how this week may show up personally for each sign. I recommend you listen first for your rising sign and then also for your sun and moon. I'm using whole sign houses, so each sign will describe a whole area of life that's being activated for you. For Aries rising sun or moon, this full moon in Gemini lights up your third house of communication, siblings, neighbors, short trips, social media, paperwork, and learning. You may have important conversations, announcements, contracts, or decisions to make. Schedules, commuting, or study plans can feel intense or pressured. At the same time, the granddaughter trine activates your 4th, 8th, and 12th houses of home, family, shared resources, and your hidden emotional world. This is a powerful week for sorting out family matters, debts, inheritances, or deep psychological patterns. Be honest in your communication, but stay aware of your tone. Not every truth has to be delivered like a punch. Choose words that help you move toward emotional resolutions, not just victory in an argument. For Taurus rising, sun, or moon, the full moon falls in your second house of money, self worth, and personal resources. You may reach a peak in financial matters, income, spending, pricing, or self esteem themes. You might get clarity on what you truly value and what's worth your effort and what's not. The water trine activates your third, seventh, and 11th houses of communication, partnerships, and friendships or groups. Conversations with partners, clients, or friends can help you restructure your finances or clarify your priorities. Don't undersell yourself, but also be open to agreements that benefit both sides. Your voice and your network are important assets right now. For Gemini rising, Sun, and Moon, this full moon is in your own sign, in your first house of identity, body, and life direction. This is a spotlight on you. Who you are, how you show up, and what you say, and what you stand for. You might feel more visible, more scrutinized, or more emotionally reactive. The grandwater trine activates your second, sixth, and 10th houses of money, daily work, and career. This is a big week for integrating your values, your health or work routines, and your public path. You're being asked to make choices that reflect who you really are now, not who you used to be. Let what comes up around the full moon guide you toward more authentic work and lifestyle decisions. For Cancer rising, Sun or Moon, the full moon in Gemini lands in your 12th house, endings, retreat, your subconscious, and hidden matters. You may feel more sensitive, tired, introspective, or dreamy. Secrets can surface, or you might simply become aware of something you were avoiding emotionally. The grandwater trine lights up your first, fifth, and ninth houses of yourself, your creativity and joy, and your beliefs or spiritual path. This is an amazing week for healing through creativity, spirituality, therapy, or time alone. Old stories about your identity and your joy are ready to be rewritten. Give yourself space to rest and to feel. Not everything this week has to be solved externally. A lot is happening in your inner world, and that's where the true magic is. For Leo, rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini activates your 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long term hopes. You may see a change or climax in your social circles or networks. Maybe a group project completes, a friendship shifts, or you get clarity about your future direction. The water trine energizes your 12th, 4th, and 8th houses of inner healing, home or family, and shared resources or intimacy. This week can bring emotional closure around belonging, support, and trust. You may be reviewing who truly has your back, both emotionally and materially. Focus on quality over quantity in your connections. It's okay if your circle becomes smaller, but more real. For Virgo, rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini lands in your 10th house of career, reputation, and life direction. This can be a peak moment at work. Project culminates, your role changes, or you get more visibility and responsibility. You might also feel pressure or criticism, especially if you've been overworking. The grandwater trine activates your 11th, 3rd, and 7th houses of friends, networks, communication, and partnerships. Talks with partners, collaborators, or communities can solidify into serious agreements or commitments. Long running discussions may finally reach a conclusion. Be clear but also flexible in how you communicate. The right connections now can open doors in your professional life. For Libra, rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini illuminates your ninth house of travel, higher education, beliefs, spirituality, and legal matters. You may have a turning point around the trip, studies, or legal issue, or a question of faith and worldview. Something about how you see the bigger picture is changing. The water trine supports your 10th, 2nd, and 6th houses of career, money, and daily work or health. This is a strong week to align your beliefs with your work and lifestyle. You may make practical decisions about your job, routines, or finances that better match what you truly stand for. Don't be afraid to adjust plans or let go of paths that no longer feel meaningful. Your long-term goals and direction is being turned to something more authentic and sustainable. For Scorpio rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini activates your 8th house of shared money, debts, taxes, inheritances, intimacy, and deep psychological patterns. Topics like finances, joint finances, emotional entanglements, power dynamics, or trauma healing can come to a head. You may need to have some very honest, possibly intense conversations. The grandwatertrine lights up your first, ninth, and ninth and fifth houses of your identity, your creativity and love life, and your belief systems. You're integrating who you are, what you love, and what do you believe in a much deeper way. Old fear-based patterns around intimacy, money, or vulnerability can start to dissolve. Lean into emotional honesty, both with yourself and others. This is transformational energy if you're willing to face what's normally left in the shadows. For Sagittarius rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini falls in your seventh house of relationships, partners, clients, close one-to-one connections. A relationship may reach a turning point, a decision, a confrontation, a commitment, or a realization about what you need from the people close to you. The water trine emphasizes your 8th, 12th, and 4th houses of shared resources, your subconscious, and home or family. This is a week for emotional honesty about support, safety, and commitment. Home, family, and the deeper emotional needs are part of the conversation. Don't run away from serious talks. By facing them, you can actually create more emotional security and stability in the long run. For Capricorn rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini lights up your sixth house of work, daily duties, habits, and health. You may feel a peak in workload, tasks, or health awareness. It can be busy, and you might become more aware of stress, burnout, or the need to change routines. The grandwater trine activates your 7th, 11th, and 3rd houses of relationships, friends, and networks and communication. This suggests you don't have to do everything alone. Partners, friends, and allies can help you handle responsibility more sustainably. Important conversations can bring solutions. Be realistic about your limits. This is a good week to adjust schedules, delegate, and create healthier boundaries around work and service. For Aquarius rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini energizes your fifth house of creativity, romance, children, and pleasure. A creative project may reach a climax, a romantic situation may become clearer, or something around children or your inner child demands attention. The water trine supports your sixth, tenth, and second houses of work, career, and money. This is excellent energy for integrating what you love with what you do. You may see a way to make your talents more central in your work or to stabilize your finances by respecting your creative gifts. Don't downplay your joy. The things that light you up are not a distraction. They they are a key part of your path. For Pisces rising sun or moon, the full moon in Gemini activates your fourth house, home, family, roots, and emotional foundations. There can be changes or turning points around your living situation, family relationships, or your inner sense of safety. Something at the base of your life wants attention. The grandmother trine lights up, lights up your fifth, ninth, and first houses, so creativity, joy, belief systems, and your identity. This is a powerful week for reconnecting with who you are and what gives your life meaning, and then letting that inform your home and family choices. Make space physically and emotionally for the person you're becoming. Your environment should support your growth, not keep you tied to older versions of yourself. And that's your horoscope for the week of 1st to the 7th of December 2025. We move from the intensity of the full moon in Gemini through confusion and heated conversations into the emotional clarity and closure of the final grandwatertrine between Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn. As you go through this week, notice what information comes to light, which conversations feel uncomfortable but necessary, and where do you finally feel ready to let go, decide, and move on. If this forecast resonated, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment with your rising sign and how these transits are showing up for you. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in next week's horoscope.